which is significant. They take humpbacks, minkies, and fins, and some of it is for consumption. They say some is for research, and the rest is waste. So the question is, what countries perform illegal hunting for whales? So not all hunting is illegal for whales. There are many countries that hunt whales, and some small groups of cultures also have consumed whales since the beginning of their time. What part of the problem here is it's a whale sanctuary. Does anyone know what a whale sanctuary is? So the United Nations, does anyone know what the United Nations is?
Yeah.
Check, check.
Make one announcement.
Okay.
Please turn your pages one side.
Okay, so just to wrap that up, the area where this activity is happening is also a whale sanctuary. So that's part of the problem. And there are other countries that also take whales. We usually don't see them in this many at one time. So they can take as many as 3,000 whales. That's a lot of whales. Does anybody know how long a whale takes to grow up to maturity, to be able to have more whales? You know?
Yeah. I have a question. Congratulations with this premiere in this center. And I want to ask, what camera do you use? It's great work, and what kind of camera? GoPro, Mark II, what? Mark II, and also what camera?
Okay, we've moved to a technical question, so we were...
Technical is, because it's...
Yeah, no, that's fine too. I was just finishing the topic here with the whales, and thank you very much for your comments. So just to finish the question about the whales take a long time to even be able to have another whale, similar to humans. And so it's very important that we're not just killing whales anymore. We don't need whales for anything but to keep the oceans healthy and alive. So it's really important that we're not killing whales and or a lot of other fish. I don't know if you're aware, but there are very, very few fish left in the ocean. And some people suspect that in 2020, there will be more plastic bottles than fish. That's hard to believe, right? But it's possible. Has anybody heard about Trash Island? Yeah?
Yes.
They originate in the center of some gyres. They are called kind of pretty stable place in the ocean surrounded by streams, and that's why this litter and rubbish doesn't flow out of these places.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a few gyrospheres now on the planet where it's like a big, massive whirlpool, and everything from shipping containers that have fallen off to garbage to the plastic that we throw in the ocean is all congregating there. And it's as thick some places as a mile deep. And it's very, very dangerous. It's full of fishing nets and all sorts of other toxins. And fish and whales and sharks are getting stuck in this. And that's just one issue with the ocean. We've also really overfished the ocean. Not to get too far down this topic before I answer your question on technology, but I do want to go into about the fish. Does anybody eat yellowtail in here? Yellowtail tuna? Do you guys know what that is? Has anyone here ever been to sushi? Yeah? All right, there we go. We've got some sushi eaters, right? How about the yellowtail? Ooh, no one? Yeah, that's yummy, right? Right, okay. Well, just about a month ago in Japan, one yellowfin tuna, it weighed more than me, but half my size. Guess how much it sold for? Anybody? One yellowfin tuna? Anyone want to guess?
$5,000?
5,000? No. A little bit more? Any other guess? Way more. Any more guesses?
500,000?
Way more. Anybody? $1.4 million for one yellowfin tuna. Wow. The demand for one yellowfin tuna is so high, there's so much pressure on the few fish that we have left. So that's why it's really important next time you do go to sushi and you want to order your yellowfin tuna to do what? Anybody? Have some rice. Maybe order something that isn't endangered or close to being extinct. It really is amazing when we begin to pay attention to the species that are so close to extinction, and we definitely are playing a role in that. And I'm so glad that you're here this evening and taking a look at some of these issues. I am going to now, I will answer any questions that you have, but we had a technical question back here, asked what kind of cameras that we use. So it depends, what type of cameras we use depends on what kind of weather conditions we're in, what type of project we're covering. When we're running and gunning, which is the style of moving and interviewing people on the run, we'll use a different type of camera than if you're doing a sit-down interview. Like the gentleman behind us, he's using a tripod, so that leaves us an opportunity to use a different kind of camera and have a shallower depth of field. So we use anything from the Panasonics to the Canons to the Sonys. We use a whole vast array of cameras. Sometimes we'll rent them from camera houses depending on the budget for the project, and sometimes a camera operator will bring your own gear. What we'll try to do at that point then is match the colors so that if we are using different types of colors, that we won't have a vast array of different colors when we go into post-production. That's super important. And also, believe it or not, the GoPros, they come in quite handy, especially in this style of shooting when you're shooting reality, hopefully. Putting cameras on up high or on a boat, or where you might not be able to get an operator, or if you lost that camera, it might be quite costly to the production. There are really good solutions now with the 4K resolution. Does that answer your question?
Good question, good answer. But how many cameramen is shooting this film? How many? One or two or three?
Which project?
This project?
28. So this project had 28 camera operators on 4 vessels. That might seem like a lot, but when you consider that at some point we are shooting nearly 24 hours a day, so it's sort of as in shifts. So some people are sleeping when the other camera operators are working. And then once the action gets quite intense, we're documenting almost every moment. So we're aggregating a lot of content, and so it takes a lot of people. On the Stever one, we only had 8 cameras. So I do say only.
8.
Yeah, 8 cameras. And then one audio tech per vessel, and then of course a logger, someone keeping records of what is actually being shot with transcripts. That's very helpful. The campaign lasted 3 months. It was the longest campaign ever, and like I mentioned, 932 whales were saved because of these actions. Does anybody have any other questions? Oh, okay.
Actions are legal, so were they allowed to block refueling of another ship? Wasn't it dangerous for the crew?
Good question.
Okay, that was a good question. So, because of the injunction, Sea Shepherd was not allowed to approach any of the whaling fleet vessels, but the Sun Laurel is a refueling vessel, and it's from Korea. And the second part of the question was, yes, unfortunately, the whaling fleet this year made some very, very dangerous decisions and nearly sunk the Bob Barker and the Stever when, in a few-day standoff, actually, they flooded the engine rooms with their water campaigns. Does anyone remember those water campaigns? So those are used to either try to knock people off the vessels or to flood the engine rooms. Once an engine room is flooded, you lose propulsion and the boat can no longer move, which means it's much easier to tip. So it was a very, very dangerous situation. There was also hull damage, the helicopter deck on both the Bob Barker and the Stever when it was damaged. Do I have am I ready on a battery?
ask to make it a bit quiet.
No, please, Lord.
Okay.
I
Do you
need.
still got me?
Yeah, I need.
Okay, no problem. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, that's what she
Excuse
said.
me?
Okay.
Have you some problems on post-production with sound? Because many cameras, it's very difficult to in post-production. Have you such problem or not?
You're gonna have,
Sound.
when you're shooting in a natural environment, you're always going to have some sort of issues, especially on boats. You've got engines, water lapping. There's a lot of exterior audio that can be an issue. So one good solution to that is having an audio technician mixing audio on the fly. That can help you in post. But in a natural environment, you are going to be challenged because it's much different than, like, for example, being in the studio and just taking levels and working from there. Does that answer your question? Another solution to that potentially is, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
What?
Can you hear me anymore?
What?
Control tower. Can you hear me?
You cannot hear you.
Oh, she can't hear me. I guess I
It is
off. Okay, so by time coding, every time a card, right, comes out of the camera, it goes to the logger. The logger is logging the time code and the card.
Mix file, yes?
The audio and the video. So when the time codes are all married, then there should be no problems. Yeah, that's why it's super important to.
It's very important
Yeah.
when shooting.
Yes.
Have mix.
And do your time code. Do you know what I'm saying? It's called jam.
Electronic.
We call it jam.
Jam.
So every time we remove a card, if it's full, like you shot the card and it's done, you need to re-jam the camera to sync it with the audio. So when that day is done, the logger knows exactly where the audio is and where the video is, so they can be married in post. If you are really good about syncing your time code, when you get to post, it should be seamless.
My question is because some documentaries with low budget, there are no synchronize of sound. It's very problem for doing post-production. And I also ask your technology because work is very great.
I recommend using this as a baseline protocol when you're working, no matter what kind of camera you're working with. Even if you don't have a jammer, at least set your time code and slate your takes. That will help you too. Do you know what I'm saying? So show to the camera what your scene is, what the take is. That can also be very helpful.
And it's very interesting. Have you many monitors? How you control shooting?
How?
You have monitors? All cameras, or you shooting? You stay and just seeing camera there.
Depends on what I'm shooting and where we're shooting. When I have 8 cameras, it's not possible, but I also shoot and or will be giving direction on the fly. So if there's something super important, if there's a camera operator that is skilled to do this, they know already what to do, right? Because this is part of the style. If not, I shoot myself. In other formulas, I have a screen so I can see exactly what we're documenting. And when I shoot formal interviews, which is very different, I'm not showing any of that work tonight, but it's just like any other interview where you set up with, I do 2 to 3 cameras with the lights, and direct every component of that environment,
And your cameraman, one of
I don't count myself, I have 8,
also
but
shooting.
yes, I am. Yeah, my background is heavy in photojournalism, videography, cinematography. I'm a producer and director, but I'm also, that's really where my skill is as well. So.
And your camera, for you, what camera is more better? Panasonic, Second, GoPro, or what?
It totally depends on the shoot. It depends on the environment. Yeah, especially when you have cold and hot, you have a camera coming inside to outside, you're going to have issues right there. So there's different cameras that have different strengths and weaknesses. So yeah, we can talk about this later. You can send me an email if you have a project that is specific and you'd like some advice about those cameras. Because you can see, like, for example, we wouldn't use this camera, but this camera is perfectly fine for here. So yeah, each environment would have a different camera. Thank you so much. Any other questions about, okay.
So, back to environmental issues. Do I understand correctly that the Japanese fleet was breaking the law because they were hunting in these areas that are kind of
whale sanctuary
preserved by the United Nations? It's kind of conservation place. I mean, is it legally documented that this place is kind of national park? Or?
It's so it's a known whale. It's a known whale sanctuary. 2 years ago, the United Nations did come out and say, absolutely, you need to stop this whaling in the Southern Ocean. It can no longer happen, which is a real win-win for the whales. But unfortunately, the activity is still taking place. To the question, how do you know, how do we prove, right? I mean, that's millions of miles of ocean that's where they are. And we can have our coordinates from the radars, right? We can have it from our GPS these days, even in our cameras or on our phones. There's a lot of ways to document it, but what potentially can happen when you get it to the court system is there's no way of that court panel knowing if that's an authentic copy, right? How do you know that wasn't from a different time, right? I mean, it's pretty well known that that is the whale sanctuary and what's happening. Basically, overall, the whale shouldn't be taken no matter what, because a whale doesn't know it's a whale sanctuary, and that's why they made it illegal across the board, right? It doesn't say, oh, I'm in the whale sanctuary, oh, now I'm not, right? So, much more needs to be happening to end the killing of whales, and this is a start to that.
So, these fleets are not prosecuted by any kind of international court?
So the question is, these fleets are not prosecuted by any court. Outside of the United Nations, there's not a lot that can be done, except for policing them and doing direct action to try to end the activity. If it weren't for these vessels being down there, keeping their eyes and trying to block the illegal whaling, you guys, no one would even know. And we might already be out of whales. Imagine that, really. That's significant. This is now in its 11th or 12th year, right? And over time, thousands and thousands of whales have been saved. But if there hadn't been, maybe 50,000 whales would have been taken by now or more. And I think that if you just even consider where we are with the state of the oceans, that we wouldn't have any whales. We would be on the brink of extinction, which is really where we already are. Does that make sense? I know we don't live right by the ocean, right? But we're all affected by what's happening in the ocean. We get our fish from the ocean. Our water that we drink comes from the ocean when it rains, and it's all connected. Does anybody have any other questions about the?
I didn't get it clearly. Why Interpol is looking for the Captain Paul?
So they no longer are. That's all been dropped. But what happened was, this is big business. It's a billion-dollar business, and it has much more to do with the land grab in Antarctica and its resources than just necessarily whaling. Japan put pressure on Costa Rica, so they have a relationship and they export their fish in Costa Rica, where he had an old warrant or a issue over shark finning from the 1980s. So the Japanese really wanted Sea Shepherd to not block them anymore, and they were going to do this at any cost. So Costa Rica acknowledged this and put a warrant out for his arrest. While he was on his way to the film festival in France, the German government stopped him, and they held him. And he was on house arrest. at some point, he decided that he would no longer be on house arrest, and he left that environment. And that's why he had was wanted at one point. For example, on campaign, that was the situation. But that since then it has been dropped, and that is no longer the case. But excellent question. You're really paying attention to that. Because to see, yeah. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Why United Nations don't create special zone free of such hunting?
So they have.
Like reserve for ocean.
There is. There has been for a very long time. Down in the Southern Ocean, there's a Southern Ocean Whale Sanctuary, it's called. So it's already there.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just that when, well, there's a couple of problems. Whales shouldn't be killed anyways, but there's no borders, right? So, I was saying earlier, a whale doesn't know if it's in the whale sanctuary or it's not in the whale sanctuary. Yeah. So. But your efforts and learning about it is super important, because then, all of it is connected, from ordering yellowfin tuna in a sushi bar or eating fish at all. The more you learn, the better choices you can make. And I'm always learning about new ways too. We're always learning about different things that we can do to help contribute, right? Like to protect our resources and protect our oceans and defend the creatures that live in there. Like, for example, who here goes polar bear hunting? Anybody ever been polar bear hunting? Wild boar hunting? How about wild boar hunting? Anyone in here ever been hunting? No hunters? I've been hunting. No one in here has been hunting? Okay. Well, good. Then you're an easy audience. But the audience are the people that might maybe grew up hunting. Maybe they kill something but they don't eat it. That's really where the message
hunting
needs
for
to
fish.
them. Huh?
Hunting for fish.
Hunting for fish.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Fish is very good. Fishing.
Okay. Any other questions from the audience tonight? Okay.
One question. Does this Japanese fleet really perform any true research? I mean, if there are governmental organizations, that means that the Japanese government says it's okay to kill whales, to do such things.
So the question is that does the ICR, which is the government name of Japanese whaling fleet, do they put out any research? You yourself too can have a look on Yandex. You Google it, you all use Yandex, right? Have a look, do some research, even just when you're sitting there and doing whatever else you're doing, and see what you find. There are indications that there is not a whole lot of research that's been put out regarding. So yeah, I think the best way to direct you is just give it a Yandex or a Google, right? And see what you come up with all by yourself. And start to ask those questions like, why?
How long does the trip continue? How long does the trip continue?
I have a question here. How long does the tape?
How long continue this trip? Inside and see.
Oh, 3 months. So the question was, how long was this particular campaign? It was the longest campaign in history. It lasted 3 months. 3 months, yeah. And like I mentioned, 932 whales were saved. That's a lot of whales. It should be zero. I mean, it should be, there should be no killing of whales at all. But you know what? Whales are not the only issue that's happening. We have shark finning. Does anyone know what shark fin soup is? Who in here eats shark fin soup? Okay, this is an easy audience. But sharks are taken, sort of maybe 100 million now per year, right, for their fins. It's massive, and we are facing one of the greatest mass extinctions ever, and humanity has had an impact on that, and we recognize it. We can do things differently, like use a water bottle that you put your own water in. This makes a really big difference. Start to count how many plastic water bottles you use. I noticed at the hotel where I am, But I was doing my hair tonight with the hair dryer. The guy walked right in, by the way. I actually need to tell the hotel that. Guy screamed so loud. He was in the room bringing me 3 water bottles. You know, it's like that's not necessary. So just that simple act of getting your own water bottle, filling it with water and carrying it with you, you know, it is becoming part of the solution. It really is. Or when you buy items, maybe don't buy single packaged items. Maybe buy them in bulk and then, you know, make smaller items at home. There's such simple things you can do. And if you're interested in documenting the things around you and you use Instagram, I'm not a big Facebooker. I know y'all here have, what's the thing you guys use? Not Facebook.
VK, it's like Facebook.
Right. But Instagram, Snapchat, which just went up for IP this morning, IPO. But anyways, that you can tell your stories right around you, you know, and really have a great impact. Like I hear here there's no real recycling, which is a big issue, right? You put your plastic here and you put your rubbish here, but really at the end of the day it all goes here. I mean, what an important topic to document. So you can come up with a solution together, because really there's a lot of waste in those materials that can be recycled. There's actually a value to those things that are just at one point just looked upon as trash. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any other questions regarding?
It's a very simple decision. It's necessary to create artificial microbe or natural microbe which will eat such plastic garbage, and it will be a decision. As such a microbe will be food for small fish.
So you've
It
invented
will
this.
circulation of food inside the ocean to create artificial microbe or natural microbe to find, which will eat such plastic garbage. It's decision.
Interesting. Yes.
I would like to do.
But then what's going to happen when the fish eat that's full of plastic?
And then,
We eat
yes,
the
yes,
fish.
yes. Maybe it will be artificial microbe, maybe genetically modified. But such microbe, it must eat such plastic garbage and such food for their fish. It's very interesting idea. Why not?
Maybe. I mean, there's no such thing really as
I would
that bad of an
like
idea.
to do it.
But you know, when we look at the fish farming right now, can anybody tell us why fish farming is not good? Does anyone know what fish farming is? So raising fish in a corral, right? Keeping them in one pen. Well, I'll just tell you why it's not good. They're all living on top of each other. They're not swimming naturally. They don't develop the muscle tissue that they normally do. They're fed artificially, usually by feed that they wouldn't normally be eating. They're packed with hormones. They're genetically engineered. They're fed antibiotics. Yummy, right? Like when we get into this area of trying to create something that doesn't already exist in nature, we're really walking a fine line with that. But maybe there's a way. Okay. Anybody else? Any other questions tonight? What time do we have? But when telling a story, I think it's important to tell the other side of the story, right? Wouldn't you like to know about maybe you don't, but like the man that's harpooning the whales and his family and his kids and where do they go to school and what do they eat and are they proud of their father? Is he proud of his? I have so many questions, and I think that just tells a more interesting story that we can all relate to, right? Like if it's just one-sided, I think it's not as interesting. And I think that it's important to try to tell all sides, yeah.
Show the film in Japan, the audience would probably really encourage them. They want to buy so many food items that contain such a from whale.
You know, it depends on what people's own intention is. You know, the younger generation are already connecting. In Asia, they used to have shark fin soup at weddings. It was just like a wedding cake. Now younger people are saying no to shark fin soup at weddings. You know, there is a climate and a temperature, and people at some point they do need to make their own decisions. And I do agree with part of what you're saying. You know, some people might want to do it just because they have the right, they feel to do it, and they're going to do it. So that's the audience again that I would like to have a moment with, you know, and even if you just leave a spark that might, you know, ignite a flame that might change the attitude.
In the movie, we saw the shepherds prevented the hunting to one sheep, but if they are really several sheep, they
So the Japanese whaling fleet have 5 vessels. They have the largest factory ship in the world. They have the Shonen Maru, which is their government vessel that goes down to protect them. And then they have 3 harpoon ships. So that all together makes up the whaling fleet. So it's not just blocking one ship, which might not have been understood. But what's happening is that they completely put an end to the whaling season. Done and dusted, out they go. They ended it. Does that answer your question?
You mean that the ship is powerful and they have the ability to fight against the ship?
Well, they need fuel, right? I mean, you're down in Antarctica, and that's weeks from Japan. That's why they have the refueling vessel, try to refuel them down in the Southern Ocean. Without fuel, nobody can go anywhere. So without fuel, they can't hunt whales. So it's over. Does that make sense? Yeah. Thank you all for coming and your attention, and